back to back videos in one day. I'm just like hungry for the attention. Well, for real though, I had to make this video as a follow up to what's going on and what happens, the happenings on. Like, seeing other YouTubers finally like reporting about this, like makes me feel like less of like one of those like tinfoil hat wearing individuals. It's like, oh, I was right all along. People know, they're finding out. See, I saw a video by Cash Jordan on the very same topic I just did, and yeah, it's happening. And I want to make this video as a kind of hard, tough to swallow, but necessary medicine, specifically aimed at the Islamic world, but like also Sikhs, also like pretty much every opportunistic, immigrant, migrant group out there and stuff. Again, I can't really judge Latin America, South America, all that stuff. That's like between you and America, and as a Canadian, I don't know what to say about that. But yeah. Okay, so do you want to know what the biggest and worst wake up call is going to be for all these groups of people? Reality, or sorry, should I say, the controversy becomes it is reality, right? It's controversial to say that these people are bad. It's controversial, even though it might be right, and in a lot of cases, that would make people more safe, more, immune to critical injuries. A lot of these people have experienced life-changing injuries, mental, physical, etc., etc. Right? I mean, it goes without saying, right? Like when you have a hyper homosexual group of individuals who demerit, the beauty of women to like it's a parody, right? Like the biggest funniest one was like I don't know if they were just like joking about it, but they're like showing off these drones, and the drones were like carrying female clothing, and like in Saudi Arabia, that's how they show off their female clothing. I think like they were just like doing that for the sake of being excessive, and like they're trying to modernize now because they want the money, they want the people, and they also want their as I aforementioned said before, their percentage of homosexual population to be accepted, to be expunged if anything. But I see it as like a call to you know action, if you will. This is your place of unity of being of whatever, right? And even though they will form crowds and have this standoff nature with other groups of citizens, all like at first I thought it was out of fear, but then I realized why they really did it, and it's the collective realization that they themselves were the failures in their own society, and they themselves have contributed to that failure, and that realization, hits hard, so much so that they're willing to throw down their lives, and even though they say these, euphemisms, oh, we're fighting for our freedom, we're this, we're that, the reality, the controversial reality of that situation, if you will, right? And what am I getting at? Well, I think the biggest wake up call, well, I think it came twofold. First, it came with the initial presidency of Trump. Now, like most news stations, corporations, they like to take people's words out of context. So Trump said, let's ban Muslims. But what they didn't say was he said, let's ban Muslims from, terrorist nations and who haven't been vetted yet and figure out, who's good and who's bad, which was the full quote. Now, that was a very controversial thing to say. Oh, ban the Muslims? You're not now allowing the Muslims into America, and everyone was just getting up in arms and throwing a hissy fit, this and that, racism, blah blah blah. Right? Here we are. Here we are. How many rapes? How many sexual assaults, murders, robberies, violent attacks? Gang attacks, gang rapes. You know, scams, all these different types of things, drug dealing. The list goes on, and it's at a breaking point. Nobody wants them anymore. And the biggest wake up call, I swear, dude, the biggest wake up call to all Muslims, Sikhs, all these groups all around the world who thought you were special because the news and the media said you were special. The man in Hollywood who was paid to said you were special. Your own people, with their head up their ass, said that they were special. But you want to know why I know you're not special? Because you have eyes and you have ears, and you're gonna see something and hear something that's gonna piss you off. Doors closed. No more. Ride's over. You gotta get off that ride. They don't want you in the UK. I don't know about France. I can't speak for them. But in Spain, oh, the locals, even the tourists have spoken. And they're gonna go out of their way. They're gonna go out of their way to make sure. Yep, and the world's changing. The world's changing. And you wanna know what your wake up call is? Oh, your wake up call is the reality check. You see, nobody wants to address the racism that is posed by these migrants, these Muslims, these groups of people who are very much anti establishment, anti Christianity, Judaism, etc., etc., right? But they're going to have to suck that hard to swallow, like laxative shaped pill. So it's most likely a laxative. They gotta swallow that shit, like literally, because guess what? You're gonna get turned away. No one's gonna care about your refugee or migrant asylum claims anymore. It's over, done with. There's gonna be new wars in the Middle East or in the Islamic world that can break out tomorrow. Tomorrow. And guess what? Those countries previously that would have taken you in previously had no problem, would have put their own citizens in jail for criticizing taking you in. They're not going to take you in. And you know what they're going to do instead? You see those poor, innocent, blonde hair, blue eyed, oh, baby faced, white as snow, skin so soft. Ukrainians? Ukrainian refugees. Oh, come right in, come right in. You're gonna see them hugging and stuff. You're gonna see like people at the airport with like these what do you call them? Those like those things that you put around like doors or like things for Christmas tree thingies with like flowers and stuff. These like Ukrainian youth refugees coming in, and you're gonna see all the Muslims all over the world just be like, what the fuck, man? And you know who's gonna care? Absolutely no one. Absolutely nobody. Me, I'm not gonna care. People who grew up in North America and Europe, they're not gonna care. Everybody who's been forced to suck their thumb, whatever, like bite their lip over this like clearly obvious invasion, Islamic invasion into the world that does not want them, and they're gonna see those refugees come in, get settled, start a business, take their kids to school. Those kids in school are gonna meet like other white people, and yeah, obviously black, all these other ethnicities, whatever, and they're gonna have families. And those families are also gonna be like white and stuff, and they're just gonna perpetuate the white race forever. And there's never going to be any stopping it. There's not going to be a dilution. There's not going to be a decline. There's not going to be anything. And we have the Muslims to thank for it. Thank you for being so overwhelmingly fucking annoying to the point of contention where everybody has to like, basically when describing your bullshit, speak in a like constipated-esque tone as to what the real problem is. Well, not me, not Azure News. Here at Azure News, we just say it like it is because, you know, people have already died. People have already gotten raped. People have already, suffered from this. There's no point in, holding back. The news, the media, they know what they did. They were complicit with it. And whether they were getting money or they were just trying to, appear nice, it's not so nice anymore. The idea that, from all over, like, I can see Germany, except, like, having this kind of, because they're the closest ones to Ukraine, right? So I can see Germany, having this kind of rhetoric. I can see Sweden adopting this. I can see the UK adopting this, right? It's just one of those things where you don't know how bad things are until you've pushed it so far that you can't go back to the way it was. And good luck trying to argue with the white people born tomorrow about racism. I'm serious. Good luck. Good luck. I'm not gonna do that shit. That's fucking stupid. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bite my lip, and hopefully they're not gonna fucking deport my ass out of the country. Well, I'm up here in Canada, whatever, right? It's like ways away, right? But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the world. It's changing. It's changing. Like that reality check. Like I can only imagine how pissed off people are gonna feel, or like certain people, certain groups of people, right? When you see like an African migrant group of people just getting like turned away, and this like all white, Ukrainian refugee family just like gets let in, and everyone's just like, "What the actual fuck? What's going on?" And then like they bring it up or whatever, and like just the exact same way the grooming gangs were ignored, the exact same way you were told to shut up, right, and accept, diversity or whatever, is exactly what's going to happen right back at you. Right back at you, man. And it's going to get worse. It's going to spread. You're going to see these student visas. You're going to see all these motherfuckers trying to, like, post up in another country. Hey, didn't I think I said before, they ended birthright in America. What happens if they do that in Canada? Yeah, the world's changing. And you could only imagine, like, the whole plan, the whole scheme of coming into another country that you're not born in, you don't have no loyalty to, you don't even care about, and they don't even want you anymore. You understand? This isn't like they're telling you to leave, get out right away. This is a wake-up call. You see, because you're gonna have your kids here, right? And you're gonna pretend that, like, just like I said, things will not go back to the way they were. You wish that they would. Everybody probably would wish that they would, right? But the racism, the division, it's it's there and it can't go back. It won't go back. And I'm telling you right now, tell you right now, man. This is something that was a long time coming. And I was actually like wondering to myself, like, did they ever think that this was gonna happen eventually? Or were they just like smiling the whole time because they thought that like nothing was gonna happen? And that like, people were just going to forget, or that they were too weak or this or that. Uh no. It's a wake up call that is worth, mention. Racism is back. The division sown by, these ethnic groups, the Muslims, the Sikhs, run subterfuge to like divide not only white people against themselves, but against other ethnicities. I'm not saying like they should rely on like other people, but it's like when you really think about the whole superiority, like the white like feeling of superiority, Like I would venture a guess as to less than 60% of the population of white people overall feel that, right? And that's like, the most generous estimate. And the reason why I say this is because I think it's artificial, and I could be wrong. And if I am, I'll admit that. But if I were to venture a guess, I think that it was this Arab, Sikh, Muslim, like adoration of Caucasians and their women and this and that that have, exacerbated the problems of modern society and created the racist divisions that we have today. Like, I don't think it's hard to imagine that, considering like how people think and feel, especially when even in like places that are war torn like Syria, they're willing to drop like the N bomb. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the Palestinians. Come on, same shit. All right, take care, everybody.